Hey guys, it's the V-Man here from No Budget Productions. With me tonight is Frank from Phil Ferret Productions. Frank, how are we doing tonight, man?
I'm doing fantastic, as always. I made it through the week. It is Friday and the weekend, which will be Monday before you know it.
Do not say things like that, Frank. That is worse. That is worse than your greasy pole. That is not what I want to hear, my friend. So with us in the chat tonight is Claude Sailing. We'll wait for a couple more people to filter on through here. We know that they usually tend to do that, and that's okay. It doesn't matter if it takes a little longer for people to come with us. It's fine. It's fine. So how are we doing? Besides the Monday Blues talk there, Frank, how are we doing? It's been kind of a busy week. I know for me, I shot a couple of things for your fan film. Your fan series, Crossroads. How are things going with Crossroads, man?
Oh, Crossroads is coming along. We're just waiting for one person right now to finish her actual lines and stuff like that. That's the Admiral in there. I'm going to be releasing a couple more photos on Facebook, introducing some of the characters. I've already released you and Steven because you're in it. And I'll probably do Jennifer a couple things, but it's coming along. I was having, just before this, I was talking to Randy Wren, who is editing it, confusing him as usual. I'm working on some of the things, details. I love Randy, believe me.
Right?
I drive him crazy though. It's, so we were working on credits and stuff like that. So it's coming along, still looking for a June release. Well, what I'd like to do is I'd like to release it at Con Carolina, as you and I have discussed, and do a premiere either that Sunday, May 30th, if it's ready, on our usual Sunday night slot for releasing films. If it's not quite ready, I may do a Wednesday. I know it's a little bit out of our spectrum. Oh, by the way, I will be putting together something for the 10 o'clock slot on Wednesday morning, starting off my music, one song a week, and I got to get Donna to sit in there, my singing partner, for the Nefarious Ferrets, and we'll go from there.
Now, 10 o'clock slot, that's 9 Central, right?
Yeah, wait a minute, hold. Yeah, that would be 9 Central. I got to check with that. Don't we have, I was trying to figure out if we've got somebody in that slot.
I not for Wednesdays. No, not Wednesdays. Usually the slot that I kept open, that was because I used to be where I used to put CGI slot, but I got lazy for Wednesdays. Now I always have Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays, 9 o'clock. I always have something, and then Mondays is of course Pizza Roll Diaries. But no, for Wednesdays I didn't have anything for the 9 o'clock slot. So that was where I was like, hey Frank, if you want to put something there, put whatever you want there, man. So yeah, it's 9 o'clock. So that's 9 o'clock Central. You have a Phil Ferret thing with Donna that's going to be coming,
right? Which would be 10 o'clock here.
Okay. Cool. And it's 10 o'clock. What time zone are you?
I'm Eastern Daylight. So I'm an hour ahead of you.
Okay. So good deal. So that's Wednesday, 10 o'clock. You have a Phil Ferret song.
I think we'll just call it the Nefarious Ferrets, which is our usual. That's what we go by when we perform at conventions.
Right on, man. So, okay. So we also have USS ARNG.
Hey, how you doing tonight? You and Claude? Cool.
Glad to see you
are regulars.
Yes. Glad to see you are here tonight. So tonight we do have David Chang's Human Adventure, Star Trek fan production. Now this film is the very first time that I saw Admiral Nagura, and the first time that I saw Mike Longo's Admiral Kirk. And these two guys are two of the finest gentlemen, I think, in fan films. and both of them kind of left an impression on me, especially Admiral Nagura, because he has such a presence about him that it's like, wow. And Admiral Kirk, I had sworn that I would never have him in a fan film of mine. I was like, fuck that, no. And then I saw this guy, and I was like, man, you know what? I'm gonna have to rethink this. And of course, like I said, both these people are two fine people. But this film is something. It's worth watching. There's a lot of good in here. Let's watch it. What do you think, man?
I think we should get there, so I am going to mute my mic.
I will mute mine.
Admiral Nagura to USS Enterprise. Have Captain Decker provide me with an update on the status of the retrofit as soon as possible. Nagura out.
Oh, good morning, Admiral.
Good morning. Admiral Curry, what's the latest on the alien cloud threat?
Assuming speed remains constant, projected arrival time of the energy cloud is approximately 3 days.
And the status of the USS Intrepid?
They can't repair the warp drive in time. It'll take several days to arrive on impulse power.
Not good. Not good.
Period, sir.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Admiral Noguera, they told me I might find you here.
Admiral Kirk, I wasn't expecting you back from your vacation so soon.
I decided to come back as soon as I heard about the crisis. Admiral Kirk?
Admiral Kirk?
You've been briefed about the energy cloud heading our way?
Yes.
I've never seen anything like it. It's massive and powerful. It destroyed 3 Klingon cruisers like you and I might swat flies.
I understand the Enterprise is the only ship in intercept range.
That's correct. It's my fault for letting the other ships go to the other sectors. We're rushing her into service as quickly as possible.
I appreciate the gravity of the situation. Actually, that's why I've returned as soon as I could.
Oh?
I want to take command of the Enterprise.
What? Did I hear you correctly?
You did. Here, Jerome. Give me the center chair. Let me lead this mission to intercept the energy cloud.
Let's go talk. Excuse us, Admiral Curry. Jim, we already have an excellent captain over the Enterprise. Will Decker, remember? You recommended him.
Capable, but still young and relatively inexperienced.
So were you when you first assumed command of the Enterprise.
This is different. We've never faced a threat like this before.
Jim, you've spent the last 3 years sitting at a desk as Chief of Starfleet Operations. What makes you more qualified than Captain Decker to lead this mission?
My 5 years experience dealing with unknowns.
Your 5 years experience was 3 years ago. You haven't logged a single star hour in how many years?
2.5. Don't forget, I'm highly familiar with the Enterprise.
We've spent the last 18 months retrofitting the Enterprise. She's not the same ship that you know. Admiral Nagura to Admiral Curry. Phil, would you bring 2 of my training swords to the garden as soon as possible?
I'll see to it. Also, Dr. Reagan from Stanford and Dr. Heath from Berkeley are here. You asked them to help with the assessment of the energy cloud. Do you want them to wait for you in your office?
No, bring them with you. I will talk to them as soon as I'm done with Admiral Kirk. Nagura out.
What is this place? I haven't seen it before.
It's my sacred space. I come here to calm my mind and think, especially when I have weighty matters to consider. So how's your swordplay these days?
Well, as you know, I trained under the best. You still coach the Samurai Sword team?
Of course. Admiral Curry.
Admiral Nagura? Admiral Kirk? Dr. Reagan? Dr. Heath?
Although the 2 of you are from rival schools, I trust that you will be able to work together.
Under the circumstances, I don't see why not.
We will put aside our differences for the sake of the planet.
Good. I'm in the middle of an important meeting right now, but I'll be with you momentarily.
Of course.
Take your time.
Tell me, did the samurai stop being a samurai when you reach a certain age?
No, as long as he still had the fighting spirit.
Is this how Admiral Noguera normally handles meetings?
No, this is how he plans to school Admiral Kirk.
I'm not so sure of that. I'm betting on Admiral Kirk. Yoo-hoo, Admiral Kirk. I'm rooting for you.
What is it with you?
Let's see what you've got. If your team had to face the greatest sword fighter that ever lived, would you send a promising but inexperienced member to face him? Or would you pick the one with the most sword fights under his belt?
See, Admiral Kirk is Admiral Nagura against the wall.
Nah, Admiral Nagura is just toying with him. Just keep watching.
I see you've gotten a little rusty.
I just didn't want to embarrass you immediately. But let me ask, what if that experienced sword fighter was getting on in years and no longer had fast reflexes or a quick, nimble mind? What if that fighter hadn't fought anyone in years?
I see your point. The command of a starship doesn't require the quickest reflexes. It requires learning from one's failures, seeing much of the galaxy firsthand, and making fast, prudent decisions, often based on limited information.
In other words, being around the galaxy a few times.
Exactly.
Jim, I've known you for a long time. We've both had successful careers leading our own ships in our younger days. Don't you think that time has passed? Isn't it time to let the younger generation fight the battles?
You're only as old as you feel. I still haven't. I can still contribute. The best way I know how is to lead the Enterprise to face this energy cloud head on.
When I promoted you to Chief of Starfleet Operations, you said that galloping around the stars was for the young, that you had seen too much suffering and death.
That was true then. I was ready for a break. I thought taking this job was the most logical progression.
I don't regret offering it to you. You've done well. We need you to continue to do well, especially now.
Doing well isn't enough. I realize now my true calling is to command a starship.
Jim, let me be frank. I think you are using this crisis as a way to get command of a ship again.
If you think that's what this is about.
Jim, I have to be accountable not only to Starfleet, but also to all the stakeholders in the situation. What do you think people will say if I put you back in the captain's chair?
Tell anyone who would ask. There's no one more experienced, more battle-tested, and dare I say, more ready and willing to face this threat. I stand on my record and achievements. I'm not overstating what I say. I'm your best option, your best shot, in ensuring the survival of our species.
Phil, do you have one of those ancient coins on you?
As a collector of coins, I happen to have one.
Jim, take this coin out of my hand before I close my fingers.
What kind of nonsense is this?
Don't you remember playing Snatch the Coin when you were younger? I heard you were pretty good during your academy days.
Is this supposed to be a test? What does this have to do with?
Just remove the coin from my hand before I catch you.
What coin are you talking about? You mean this one?
Phil, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking of the poem, I Must Go Down to the Seas Again, the Lonely Sea and the Sky.
And all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by. Sea Fever by John Masefield.
Yes.
An ancestor of ours once said, "A smooth sea never made a skilled sailor." I know you have been through many rough seas. Captain James T. Kirk, you are hereby ordered to assume command of the USS Enterprise, effective immediately.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Admiral. I assume you'll be transmitting the orders.
I will, but I will not tell Captain Decker. You will do that. You will also retain him as your executive officer to guide you regarding the new ship.
Don't worry, I will. One more thing. I will need Dr. McCoy on board.
Leonard McCoy? He is retired.
I know, but there's a little known reactivation clause.
I will look into it. Jim, we're counting on you. We cannot fail.
You know me. I don't like to lose.
Godspeed, Jim.
I stand by my record and my achievements. I'm your best shot at saving humanity. Such arrogance, such foolishness. Intriguing, nevertheless. We'll see if your actions measure up to your words against my wager.
Well, that was, as Steve Atwell said, yes, very enjoyable. Yeah, no, and as it said in the chat here, nice surprise. No, and it very much was having Q in there. So Frank, let me ask you this: what were your initial thoughts of the film?
What I liked about the film was the fact that it gave us the backstory of Kirk getting the Enterprise back.
Yeah.
That was my first impression. I thought it was very well done, and you always wonder how he actually managed to get it back. And I just love the whole symbolism of the whole thing, especially using the Asian type of discord back and forth and proverbs and things like that. I think it was very well done. I think it was very well scripted.
Yeah, the thing about it is like when you get to the motion picture, everything seemed to be okay. We just got to get Kirk in the show, and we got, you know, of course Kirk's going to show up and take the Enterprise and relieve Decker, and everything just seems to be kind of contrived to get Kirk in that center seat. And this really fleshes out that backstory. You can tell that they put a lot of thought into how can we make this work with the world that we're building up and whatnot, and how do we actually realistically put Kirk in that and make it realistic. And it seemed so, you could see the love that they had for the characters. It wasn't just, you know, Kirk, you know, playing Kirk to have Kirk in there. Like Kirk, you know, having Captain Kirk in there was a reason. And the thing that I loved most was actually seeing Admiral Nagura. You know, it was a character that was, from my perspective, kind of a throwaway character. You know, you hear about him, but you don't know much about him. I know it was said, talking to David a few months back, that he was in the books and whatnot, and you know, he was in several adventures, like non-canonical, but there really wasn't much in terms of where, you know, you don't really see much of him. And I feel like watching this, you want to know more about this character, you know, especially from that line from Kirk and Scotty in the motion picture of just hearing about this admiral and, you know, getting the Enterprise back, you know, and just that throwaway line of, you know, I don't think it was easy getting it back from Nagura, and he's like, you're right. You know, and you're like, what the fuck are they talking about, you know? And seeing this, it's like, that it's so wonderful, because, you know, it fills in that backstory, and you know, it's so not what you would have thought, because it was such a mystery, and you're like, what? You know,
I always imagined Nagura, you know, when Scotty and Kirk were talking about that, as, you know, somebody very similar to the admiral that they had in I think it was the Final Frontier, where, you know, that rigid and everything else. I believe that Nagura, David has brought humanity to him. You know, he's thinking, he's you know, he's very deep in thought. He's not one of these rigid military officers. He's an actual person who can come up with these ideas. He is very thoughtful, and he looks at the pros and cons. And you get that character development that you lack sometimes in a movie.
Yeah, you can definitely tell, and I you know, that has a lot to do with, you know, it has a lot to do with the fact that, you know, David as an actor, you know, you can tell that it's not just a guy reading lines. It's a guy, you know, it's a person, it's a real character, who's thinking, who's living in that world. It's kind of like, even though the character's very different, it's kind of like Jason Mewes, if you ever watch the Kevin Smith movies, who plays Jay on Jay and Silent Bob, where that actor, like, when you sit there and look at the character, like, he's really thinking, you know, in universe all the time. And I love it, because it's like, when he's thinking, or, you know, in character, like, he's really thinking of, like, what's the character thinking, and the actor said, you know, he said, you know, no, I'm really thinking like how the character is thinking. And I love that. And it's very, you know, David very much is the same way, or at least that's how he looks, like, that way, you know. And I love that, because it's like he has that sense of, you know, the realism, the vibe of calm confidence, and intellect that you would feel for, and humanity of what you would feel for that character. Definitely something a lot more interesting than you would think. And especially for a kind of a throwaway line for Star Trek: The Motion Picture of what it was like to get the command of the Enterprise back. And Dee Dee Meyer says David brought the character to life, and you're absolutely right. That was definitely why, at least for me, I wanted David in my films as that character, because I was so in love with what he brought to that character. That presence, because it's definitely not replicated with a lot of admirals. A lot of people they want, oh, this guy has a look, or this guy has he's an older person who would fit the role, but David has a presence about him that is not easily replicated. And especially for like Menard, who is usually opposite of Nagura, and Nagura usually has a different objective than Menard, but he still retains the humanity, even though they have different agendas. And even here, where he's kind of talking opposite of Kirk, saying, "Are you sure you're ready for this? Are you, and not necessarily on the same page as Kirk." And he still has that humanity about him, and I so love what he brought to the film in this. It's a wonderful film that just fills in a backstory of something that you're not necessarily sure you wanted, but once you watch it, you're like, man, how could it be any other way?
I also love the setting. I just love the on location, what they picked. It was just gorgeous. To me was really fantastic. Brought a lot of life to it. And of course, the other things too is I'm very happy to see that they made little bit of mentions of things to keep the continuity. Like she goes, I bet you Kirk is gonna, win. So we see that from James T, the lover of the world. But the things like retain Decker as your executive officer, Leonard, get Leonard back on that reserve clause, little known. It continues on, and if you've seen the movie, that was brought out in the movie. So they're keeping the continuity to it and paying homage to the movie, but also making sure that everything was accurate.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's little nods like that you can tell this wasn't just a fan film that was done because, okay, Star Trek's popular, let's do it. Like, these were fans that loved the material, that loved what they were doing, that were like, let's put the time and the care into this. I would equate it to people who fine-tune models, and they every little detail goes into it, and they painstakingly go into that detail, and that's one of the things that I really appreciated about this film. Because just looking at it, you wouldn't necessarily want to go into this when you go into this, you wouldn't necessarily think Star Trek, because you're like, these guys are in a garden. This doesn't scream Star Trek to me. And when you look at the uniforms, most people are off-put by the TMP uniforms. I personally like them. But when you look at this film, you're like, this doesn't scream Star Trek to me. I'm going to pass. I'm going to go to the explosions and the ship battle and all that. But to me, this is a very detail-oriented script. It's a very solid film. It's a solid piece, just from a filmmaking perspective. Like you said, the detail in what they used for the on location, it was very smart to put that there. It would have been very easy to have this discussion over a desk at Starfleet headquarters. It certainly would have been easier from a lighting location, because I'm sure the lighting changed from how they shot it. Because that's one of the things that sucks from shooting outside is light changes, light sources change. So it's easy, or raining or something. So those type of things change. So I'm sure it probably wasn't as easy, as people think. They don't think about those type of things. But this, it was very interesting to have this location, instead of having it like across the desk, how most people would have probably chose to shoot something like this. And then to have the sword fight, again, something that most people wouldn't have chose to do, because being physical on set, which again, these weren't stunt doubles, these were them. And you could tell that they were doing it. Again, something that's not easy for actors to do. It's that's the type of stuff where, that's the detail that they put into this film. And Damn.
It's something like what Randy and I were discussing just before we came on here while we were doing the editing for my film. It's an origin story, and that's why. Because I was saying to Randy, I said, "Do you think this is too cerebral?" And he said, "No. Remember, this is an origin. You're beginning to bring things together." And I see that the same way here. Is this was this their first film?
I believe so. That's why I chose this one, because I believe this was their first one. And I really wanted to, with a lot of with a lot of these films, I've chosen the very first one that they did, because it's easy to nitpick the later films, because of course they have the experience, whatnot. But I'm not as picky on the earlier films, because it's like you don't know what the fuck you're doing on every little thing. You don't have the experience. It's easy to so yeah, I do believe it's their first one. I do believe so.
And therefore we have that origin story of now we know what Nagura is. I like Phil, actually. I've seen in a couple of the other ones. I think he's a pretty good sidekick to Nagura. I really do. I've seen, the Christmas one they did. I've seen a couple others. He's sort of like the almost like an alter ego in a way.
So we have Mark Lum in the chat who says it was our first.
Okay.
So that's awesome. Mark, would you care to come on the chat and discuss your involvement with the film? Would that be something you'd be up for? Or Dave, if David's in the chat, would anybody who worked on this film care to come on and discuss with us the film? If so, you can send Frank can put his Facebook or whatever link in there, and you can email him or Facebook message him the thing, and he can send you the link to what we got here for StreamYard. It's like, we'd love to have you come on and chat about your experience. We're always game for that. We'd love to have you on, and that's anyone who worked on the film, whether it was Mike or whether it was David or anyone that worked on this film. We'd love to have you. So
I don't think he's the only one attending. Let me see. Mark, are you in Facebook? Let me see.
Mark says, sure. I think I'm the only one attending. Okay, awesome. Yeah, if you want to come on.
Is he in face? Yeah. Okay, I think.
Mike Longo says he'll join. So, Frank, if you want to put your Facebook information in the chat.
I don't know if I can do that without throwing feedback. Let me do that. I know that Mike is one of my friends.
Okay.
And let me just. Okay.
Well, I'll tell you what. Send Mike the link, and Mike, if you can send Mark the link, we'll accept it on. Does that sound like a plan, Mike?
Yeah. Let me see, where's Mike on here. It's under Michael. That's right. ICHE. Michael, where are you hiding on me?
Mike says okay. So yeah, send that to Mike, and he'll forward that to Mark.
I'm gonna find Michael's. Let's see. Well, he's under Mike Longo. Okay, I see. There we go. I got him. Of course, he's dressed as a what do you call it? A Jedi in his. Okay.
Mark, it's really simple. You basically just click on the link when we send it to you on Facebook. You just click on the link. If you're on your phone, it's super simple. You just click on it. You enter in a username. It'll make sure that your video and audio works. And then you just come on in the backstage, and we'll accept you on through, man. It's super simple. If I can figure it out, you can figure it out, man, because I am very technologically illiterate. So it's super simple, man.
Yeah, ask him how he learned how to say tutu train. Okay, I just sent it to Mike. And Okay, you should have that. I see he's picked it up, so we should have him soon. And
Adega Outlaw's in the chat. Good evening, Adega Outlaw. How we doing, my friend?
hey,
Welcome.
Adega. Okay. Alrighty, so I know. I want to find out where they got their Admiral uniform. I asked that of Dave Chang once, and he said it's Starfleet issue, and I said, So I did.
Well, I do know they have them on. They do have them on eBay because I've looked them up a couple times. They're like $99. Because I've thought about getting a TMP Admiral uniform for Menard, but then I saw that little jacket thing that I wear, and it's only like $10, or I mean, no, it was only like $20. So I was like, fuck it, I'll just get that instead because I'm super cheap.
There's Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Hello.
So hey, we got a little feedback. If you could mute the YouTube, we'll. Oh, right on, man, right on. So did you forward the link to Mark?
Yes, I did. So you should be
okay. Awesome. Awesome. So Mike, welcome back to the channel, buddy. How are we doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, my friend.
Good. Yeah. So you got to sword fight with Admiral Nagura.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. We did practicing at David's house. We're doing the whole thing, and he has a martial arts background, and so he's like, so do it like this. This is before I got in the Saber Guild, and so he's showing me how to do it, and that was a lot of fun.
So what you're saying is your fight with Nagura turned you into a Jedi.
Well, it's actually I was a Jedi before that with the Star Wars clubs, but
you were a Jedi before Jedis were cool.
Yeah.
Right on, man. Now, question: when you guys were sword fighting, did he ever crack one of your knuckles when he was hitting? Because I'd been afraid, like, oh man, I hope he hits his mark. Because I am chicken. I don't think I could have done that, man. That's.
I think I might have hit him.
He's like, Kirk, I'm taking back command of your ship. Screw that, man. I like that. I like that. You got the Kirk thing there. You're like, I'm sorry. So
yeah, that's one of those, like, you're acting all tough guy, and you're like, oh my gosh, are you okay? Oh yeah.
He's like, this is the first and last time we see Kirk in one of our films. Like, you go off on the Enterprise. We hope V'ger gets you, man.
This,
like
we're done,
Right on, man. Right. So Mark said this was your guys' first film. Yes,
it was.
Okay. So now I know we talked a little bit before when you were on Pizza Roll Diaries about how this was your first outing as Kirk.
Yes.
What was it like after everything had kind of wrapped up and the story that you guys had told, and like what was it like when you heard like what the story you guys were telling? Because this really does fill in the gap of like Frank had said, the origin of this particular jumping off point for Kirk.
You're asking me like what I thought of the story when I first read it?
Yeah.
Or okay. Well,
sorry, I asked like 5 questions. I'm sorry. I'm just very excited to have you on.
I have the mind of a goldfish. I can only remember like one thing at a time. No, well, he asked me about it, and I was intrigued. I was terrified, actually, the idea of being in front of the camera. But being a total geek, I'm like, oh, that would be fun. I could dress up and play Star Trek, and so I liked the idea. He pitched me the idea, and I read his first version of the script. And I really liked the idea of getting that backstory of, well, how did they get there? Because they talk about this little meeting and, what really went down. Now, I know that there was actually, I heard this from Ken Hayashida, that they'd actually had plans to shoot a scene with a Nagura. But, the movie is getting really, really long, and, it costs money to build more sets and things. So we're like, well, maybe we can condense it and save time so we can get the V'ger finally. And so that's what they ended up doing, just giving you a few little bits of lines. So it's like, well, it tells you enough what you need so you can get on with it. But for me, I really liked finding out, what happened. And David did it in a very creative way. Like as I think you said, Vance, that other folks would have had it, in an office or across the desk or something. But this was something completely different, and he made Kirk earn it.
Yeah, like that was the thing that really struck me as it you never came across as like arrogant or like it really did feel like the Jim Kirk from the like a good mesh between the where you were at the television series getting into the motion picture, but it really did feel like, I don't know if he's going to get command of this. Like you could lose it, because it really is a philosophical debate on, are you really ready for this? Are you up for this? Like, I don't know. And he puts that doubt there. And that's the thing that I really enjoyed about this film, was like, it doesn't sit there and kiss your ass in any way. It goes up there and says, hey man, I don't know. I don't know. And you're sitting there and you're like, I don't know. I may not be, but I need to go do this. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, well, that's something you do see in the movie, because you see that uncertainty in Kirk, like when he's walking through the halls and he's he gets lost and he's kind of unsure about things, and so I was trying to have some of that in the back of my head too. It's like, well, he hasn't been at it for a while, so he's a little, he wants it. He's kind of, I don't know, he's a little wimpy about it because he hasn't been, making the calls for a while. And Nagura, he reveres Nagura. Nagura is, this big guy. And so he's kind of like, well, I want to take the Enterprise, whereas the old Kirk from the actual TOS would say, I have to take the Enterprise. He'd be all bold and loud about it, but this is more like, well, I want it. Can I have it?
See, and that's...
Well, I was going to say, I could tell that in your acting is the fact that you didn't come on with that usual Kirk. And what I like about it, Mike, is the fact that you also gave the backstory of how long he had been out of action and sitting there as Starfleet operations, to show how rusty you were, which made it more humanized, that you just weren't that, pow, I'm here, I'm ready, and, up to par like I was before. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like, that's something that, a lot of people, they give motion picture a lot of shit for not, for being, the slow motion picture or the motionless picture, but I always, yeah, they do. Like, they do, I really enjoy it though. One, I mean, outside the visual spectrum, being, really good. I really enjoy it because of the character moments that it does give us, because it gives us that start of the Kirk who is uncertain of himself. I mean, we see it in Wrath of Khan, we see it in Search for Spock, but it really does start with motion picture, where, like you said, he walks down the hallway, he kind of looks one way, and then he kind of looks the other, and then it's that back and forth, and it's subtle, but it's there. And again, it's those things where he's not supposed to take it. And how many times have we were supposed to pick one thing in life, and we're like, well, I'm forced with the decision, and it's an uneasy decision, and we sit there with the kind of the weight of the world on our shoulders, and we're like, I got to fake this. I'm going to go ahead and go. And that's Kirk in this movie. And there's subtle things like that. And the relationship between Kirk and Spock, it's not really there until that moment with the hands. And I love that moment because it's a very intimate moment between two characters who really haven't been connected until that moment. And it's the way you play Kirk in your film, it leads us to that. And I love that. Again, everything about the film that you're in with David, the connections are there, and it feels like a natural progression from the television series to this. And it would have been easy for them in the motion picture to be, here's Kirk swinging from, I'm, here I come to save the day, and more of the same. Yeah. But they didn't go that route. They were like, no, here's a guy who's insecure about himself. And anyone who starts to age, like we all have now, all three of us on panel. You know,
I just brought my cane last week. Yes.
You know, it's easy for us to feel a little bit more insecure than where we were, say, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. You know, we're not, you know, there's not as much spring in our step, you know, or, you know, if we do try to spring in our step, we kind of, ow, you know.
That's true. That's totally true, because I mean, I think, you know, everybody has a little that bit of insecurity in them, that self-doubt. And, you know, when you're going to do anything, you're going to go apply for a job or do, you know, you're going to go do anything. There's a little bit of that in you, and you just try to ignore it and push on, or just, you know, put your best face on and go forth.
Yeah. And oh, go ahead, Frank. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I've watched other films that you guys have done, and you stay in that character through the whole thing. You know, you still are, you're not the Kirk that we saw in TOS. You're more mature, more settled, more sure of himself, and more likely to think about something than to go rushing in like the cowboy that we saw before in TOS.
Yeah, he knows that there's consequences, and and so he's a little more careful.
Well, and that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. You know, you like Riker would say, you know, talking to Troy, a little more seasoned. You know, you come up with that. You know, and you don't seem to be again, you don't seem to be phoning in the performance, or you don't seem to be cheesing it up like a William Shatner knockoff performance, or, you know, like, you know, being Bill Shatner from Boston Legal. Like, you seem to be that character in that moment of life, which, you know, don't get me wrong, I love Bill Shatner in Boston Legal. It's one of my favorite shows, you know, but like you seem to be playing Kirk in that moment. Like, it's like a screenshot from that lot, you know, from that moment. And that's the thing I love about not just this film, but every performance that you've played Kirk in. Because again, like I've stalked you a lot before I asked you to play Kirk in my film. I'm very much a creeper. Ask Frank.
Well, I was creeping this.
Was that creeper or creep? Was that creeper or creepy?
Look, you're the one with the greasy pole, Frank.
Never mind. Don't bring that up tonight. I was being serious tonight. Okay, we have a guest on here who's more intelligent than you and I put together. All right, be nice to him.
This is the last time Mike's on the show. He's like, "Look, guys, I'm done with you." But no, like I had stalked you a lot, going by like, man, there's something in this guy's performance. And seeing your other stuff that you've done, I was like, man, this guy, there's something in this guy's performance that I really enjoy.
Thank you.
And yeah, no, thank you. Like, you gave me confidence in Kirk again, because I don't like that character. I mean, I like him in Star Trek 2. I don't, because, like, I mean, it's kind of like James Bond, like, oh, the women want him, the guys want to be him, and so, like,
and I look at Kirk. That's who he was in the 1960s TV. It's like, this is the guy that we all want to be, you know.
Yeah, like, here's the thing, I can mimic the Kirk walk, but I have too much gristle for that Kirk walk. So when I do it, I look more like Peter Griffin. So, like, I'm jealous of Kirk. So that's it. That's it.
So Mike, yes. do you line count? I had to say that.
Actually, when I go through, I don't line count, but I do look at the lines to see, like, what can I enunciate, because, like, actually this Sunday I'm shooting something with David, and there's some techno babble in it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I would look through it so I could, you know, as you're preparing and you're memorizing, and I'm looking at this one line, and it's a long bit of exposition, and I'm like, I don't know if I can say that without, like, slurring my words and messing up. So
I had one of those lines,
but I'm looking for those lines so I can, you know, either ask Dave, like, can we change a few words here, or if we can do that. But I don't do that thing that he did.
Oh, I know that in Passengers with Baggage that I just shot with Dreadnought Dominion, my last one with Dreadnought, there was a couple lines Randy was going, Frank, let's do this one word at a time. I just couldn't get it. You know, sometimes you get those lines that just drive you up a wall.
Yeah, it's like I don't know why I can't say this. You know, it's like I could read it, but I can't say it, and it happens sometimes. So if I have issues on Sunday, I'm going to ask David. Maybe I can just say the first half of it, and then record the line, and then we could like cut away to him listening to me, or
do the voiceover
as the line continues, and edit it together, make it sound right.
So how much freedom do you have when you're filming? How much freedom do you have to say, hey, can we change this, or this may sound right for Kirk, but this doesn't sound right for me, or my take on Kirk?
Yeah, well, David gives us a lot of freedom, and what he wants, David wants to make some enjoyable films, and so when he has like Mark and the others, he sends us the script to say, what do you guys think? He wants the feedback, and so then we'll either make a suggestion on a line change, or maybe an angle of one of the scenes. It's like maybe it should be played this way, and he's very open to that, and because he just wants take all the good ideas and make what he's got even better, and so all our other projects that intertwine with what between all of us. We're open. We're very open. We have lots of freedom, and I really appreciate that. So if there is a line that I have a tough time with, he'll say, well, just say it this way. Oh, yeah, okay, let's roll.
See, and that's a sign, like, because I've worked with directors who are like, no, stick to the script, do it. And then you sit there and you struggle, and not only does it frustrate you, the director, but it frustrates you. And it's like, that shows up so much on camera. But when you're allowed to not saying you can sit there with a highlighter and say, changing this, change, but it's like when you're allowed to have the freedom to be like, look, man, like let me be a little flexible, that's the type of thing where, it shows up on camera, you're comfortable, it's more real. Steve says Vman's pretty open to small in-character ad-libs. No, and that's the thing, I believe so much in that, because it shows up in people's performances. Like the thing is, like, does it really matter if they say do not or don't or what, like or can't? Like, to me, no, those things, no. Because the thing about it is, like, it's very much like in stage or theater. If the audience doesn't know you fucked up, you didn't fuck up. Just go with it.
Exactly.
Because that might be the best take you did. If you're still in character, dude, that's awesome. Just do it. Just go, because that might be the greatest thing. Whereas if you're worried about, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I interrupted you, but I was just gonna just to back up that idea. But sometimes that's what you feel at the moment, and it makes that scene even better.
Oh yeah, and that is so true. Yeah, and the thing is, like, the audience is with you in that moment, and that can make the difference between a great performance and a mediocre And at the end of the day, like, did that line really need to be that way? Or, like, to me, you hired the actor for a reason. Let them act. Let them do their thing. I mean, don't mistake me for saying, hey, the line's warp core breach, and you said transporter buffer. Like, come on, don't change the line like that. I mean, you got to stick to the intent of the line, but the letter of the line is not as needed. I mean, that's. But no, like, I enjoy directors who give that type of freedom.
David makes a very comfortable set, because we're all friends, and we all support each other. So being comfortable, it makes it a lot easier, especially because we're not real actors.
No.
Yeah, we need all that comfort.
It's that fun that we're having, and I've worked for one person who was. You have to say it this way, and it was no fun whatsoever. It's if you can't give it. I mean, some of the best lines that some even professional shows have are the ad-lib lines. They just come out and they sound so natural. So
you're right.
I have a vision of whose line is it anyway? Like that show. That's some of the best stuff. So how long have you guys been friends as a group or individually? How long have you known David for?
I think I've known David about 5 years. I met him and Mark at the same time.
Wow.
And at the LA convention, what was it? They keep changing the names. At one time, at one point it was the Stan Lee Kamikaze. Now it's the LA Comic Con, and so I think it was about 5 years ago, and I kept running into them at all the local conventions, and that's how our friendship began.
Were you guys always in the same type of cosplay at that point, or were you cosplaying? I know I've seen David cosplays a lot.
Yeah, they've been cosplaying much more than. Hold on a second, my dog is like going crazy. He wants you to come in the room. Let me let him in.
I know how that goes. Trust me. Yeah, it's not like this is why I left the pug in the house.
I'm sorry about that, but he was distracting me by scratching on the door, like, please.
Dude,
I have 5 dogs.
Neelix just barges in the door when I'm in my spaceship room, and he breaks the illusion of my red spaceship door. So I completely get it. You are fine, man. You are fine.
What you need to do is call him Spot.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I am good.
No, but yeah, they were cosplaying much longer than I have. I've only been cosplaying probably about 5.5 years, and I don't have many cosplays. I've gotten a lot of Star Trek cosplays because of, I guess, the parts. But yeah, I've got a few of them, and boy, that's a lot of fun.
So let me ask you a question then. Are you basically a Star Wars person or a Star Trek person?
I'm both.
Okay, but where did you?
There's episode 4 here, and there's
those people exist. What?
I've heard of that.
And over there, I got Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I got Blade Runner. I got Lost in Space. Yeah.
But do you have The Expanse?
I just started watching The Expanse. I finally, I'm only like 7 episodes in. People had told me forever, Mike, you'll love this show, and I'm one of those people. Like if someone tells me that like you're gonna like something, I'm like, oh, you got me figured out, huh? Okay, well, maybe I won't watch. so I started watching, and so far I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's a little confusing at first. It's one of those things that who's who, what's what, but it does get easier. There's a lot
going on. It's kind of like, lots going on, like Dune or Lord of the Rings. Just lots of characters, there's just tons of background.
Right. So.
Well, right on. So with this film, you guys have put it out. You guys... I assume you guys got a lot of good reactions. It went on YouTube. What was the reaction from being known as Kirk? Because obviously you had told me, you're like, I don't see myself as Kirk. When I saw it, I was like, well, I didn't necessarily think, this is Jim Kirk. But now I can't see anyone else as Kirk, because I'm like, I look at the other guys, I'm like, you guys are, no disrespect, but I see it as caricatures, not necessarily the character, but I see you and I'm like, no, this is the character, because it's not, it's all, for them, it's like, I don't see them. I see them playing, them pretending to play a character. I see you and I'm like, no, this is the character. So what was it like, the reception of after the film came out, and its release and everything? What was it like when people were like, oh, so you're Captain Kirk now? What was that, or Admiral Kirk? What was that like?
Well, most of the reaction was positive. There's a few negative things, but you're always going to get that. I mean, because we're putting it out there, so there's bound to be something that comes back that says, something, disparaging. But that's cool. I mean, that's part of the game. The first time someone like recognized me was when I went to the Las Vegas convention. And a couple of people on different days passed by me in the halls, and someone just gave me a nod and said, "Captain," and I'm like, It kind of caught me off guard, but it was like, it felt good. It's like, okay, they weren't saying like, "Hey, you suck." No, so it's been positive, and one thing about the Star Trek people, I think for the most part, they're pretty accepting folks.
Yeah. Yeah, they know what they like, and once they like something, nothing will break that or shake their faith in it. No, I think that's something much like with David bringing the to life Nagura. I think you've brought your own flavor to Captain Kirk with what you've done with these films. Like I said, I'm not a fan of what other people have done with the character. To me, it's just not what I'd like to see. But with you've done something with that where I'm like, you know what? Okay, I enjoy this. To me, this is what I like. And to me, you are my Captain Kirk. And this film was the one that I was like, I can buy into this. And it was because there wasn't the bravado, there wasn't the ego. To me, it was there was that humanity to this character. And the story, there was enough from both sides where I could see that humanity in this, and it was great on both sides. From David, and there was, you could tell you guys were having fun doing what you guys were doing. I like it.
I also like the fact that you're staying within the realm of just after the movie TMP, and what you're doing is you're not jumping right off and everybody's running around in Monster Maroons. You're staying in that interim from that point. Now, I've seen you guys in Monster Maroons, but from what I have seen so far, most of the time, like even the Christmas special, you were in pretty much the same uniforms you were in. Or I'm trying
to remember.
Yeah, I do think David was wearing the gray. I could be wrong, but I think he was wearing the.
I think I can't remember. I think in the Christmas one, I think we're wearing the Monster Maroons.
Are you wearing the Monster? Maybe you are.
In Vance's film, one of Vance's films, I'm wearing the white Admiral uniform.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe
I can't remember now.
yeah. And that one, in the one in my film, you were in the white one, because it was right after Voyager and everything, or no, it was after Voyager, or not Voyager. It was after V'ger, but it was after the Constars like crippled and everything, and you're kind of saying, hey, toughen up, stop screwing stuff up. And then I talked to my friend Krorath, and then you're like, hey, what are you doing with the Klingons? And I'm like, oh, you douchebag, stop eavesdropping. And then in the after,
is that David that just popped in here, Star Trek Fan Productions?
That could be.
If it's David, if he wants to come on, he's
hold on 1 second. Let me check my messages here. So it's like
Mark. Oh, Mark's here. Okay.
well, hello there, Mark.
Hello.
Yes.
I couldn't get on my cell phone. Oh, hello there, Mark. My better half.
Well, I think you need to cut your volume.
Yeah. I just invited David too, because
okay.
Oh, is he coming?
It looks like he's available. So we're having a reunion.
Yes,
we are.
Looks like it. A critical, not cynical reunion. That's really cool.
Awesome.
Hour, folks.
Well, wait, there's more.
Awesome. So if Mike, if you want to send. So awesome. So Mike, if you want to send David, send him the link. We'll get him on here.
I have. He hasn't read.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, I was running up to see because I have him on there. I think I
awesome.
I don't have the man cave like Mike.
What?
I don't have the man cave like Mike.
Oh, it's not a man cave. It's a study. You know?
Yeah, let's see.
There's no foosball here.
I was going to say, I know my man cave's behind me, but I have the green
Your
screen.
man space.
Yes, man space.
Space.
The final frontier.
Yeah.
So Mark, what can you tell us about your experience on the film?
Absolutely nothing. I was actually I've been Dave's friend for a long, long time, and he pulled me into the cosplay scene, Star Trek, and then when he wrote the script for the Human Adventure, he calls me up and says, "Hey, I'd like you to be the director of photography." I said, "I never done anything like this before." And he says, "Well, you take good pictures, because I'm very good with the SLR, or the digital camera." And he said, "So you might as well try this." I go, "Oh, sure, why not?"
I just hijacked somebody at a convention last weekend in our area that's always there taking pictures, and I said, "How would you like to learn how to use a video camera for this production for Crossroads?"
That's similarly what David had to say to me, and I said, "Well, I guess I'll take on the challenge." And then he said, "Well, you're at it. Why don't you direct the film too?"
First on all sides.
Then it finally ended up that I ended up editing it, and as well as doing the soundtrack. So
the soundtrack, that's right.
I scored the soundtrack.
Boy, when you jump in with both feet.
That's
Mark went boldly.
You might say I'm a little reluctant when David comes approaching me again, but
This Sunday we're all going to get together.
Yeah, but we're going to do it again on Sunday, right, Mike?
Yes, we are.
Look, looking forward to it.
Yeah. So that is my experience. It was really a first of first.
It was the first for all of us.
First for all of us. So it was the undertaking was it was amazing that the shooting was done in 2 days.
Oh wow!
That was it.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to happen. I thought we were going to. Yeah. Well, I mean, there was second unit we did a little after, but it was pretty ambitious for as many setups as we had. And Mark had all the notes and everything. It's like, we're going to be shooting this way, we're going to do this, and oh man, and he had it all figured out. And so it was going like this.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand how much goes into the pre-planning and everything else. They think just get out, walk in front of a camera, get it. No, it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way. Oh my God. 2 days. Like I said earlier, I mean, for choosing, especially outside, because you have to worry about light, you have to worry about, if it rains, you have to worry about like all the different outside source. I mean, it's one thing to shoot inside where you have a controlled environment, but when you're shooting outside, you have all these different things. I mean, and it looks absolutely beautiful. Like, I can't complain. Like I saw, I think it was David that said, be nice, on Facebook, when he was advertising for this tonight. But like, honestly, like I knew, like, there's really not much I can sit there and complain about this film, because when you look at everything you guys did, I mean, this is just a remarkable film, just from a film perspective, because it's like, I mean, yeah, you could sit there and say, oh, this person's a little this, or this person's a little that, or this person a little, but like, dude, when you sit there and look what you guys accomplished, it's leaps and bounds ahead of like anything I do or anything. Like, it's a great film, just on a film perspective, because and especially when you hear 2 days, dude, I applaud you. My hat is taken off. I mean, if I could take my little moniker thing off, like, dude, hat off to you guys. Like, that is remarkable. Like, congrats. That is great.
Well, that's very nice of you to say. Very nice.
Yeah, it is very kind. And Mark was also very clever that when we would shoot our scenes, he would shoot some cutaway scenes, like of the koi fish or of the garden, little waterfall fountains. So it would help all the edits in case, we needed it. And look who we have here.
Oh, there he is. Infamous.
Admiral Nagura himself.
Man. Live long and prosper.
Yes. I've got a question about your weather out there. Do you have more control. I know in the Northeast we get a lot of rain and stuff like that that really raises a lot of havoc. But I always got the impression that you guys didn't have a lot of rain and you had more open days for shooting out on the coast.
Well, we did it in one day, so we we just chose the day and had to do it. It had to be done. That was it.
Yeah, it was cloudy, so the sun kept coming in and out, and that kind of messed with us a little bit. But generally, I mean, that's how, you know, movies came from the East Coast to the West Coast, you know, back in the 30s or the 20s, because of the weather. And, you know, because in those days they didn't have the lights to illuminate sets. So all the sets were really open to the air, to the sun. The sun was their light. And we had more shooting days so they can get done faster. That's why they came to Hollywood.
I do have a question from Steve Atwell from the chat. He asks, how long did it take to write the film?
Okay, I guess that's a question for me. Not too long. Once I had the basic story idea, I started writing it, and I can write pretty fast. And then I would submit the script to, you know, people like Mike and to Mark for their feedback. I think to let's see, to Bill also, and then based on their feedback and suggestions, you know, do another draft, and then one, you know, as we're going through this, I would get some other ideas of things to do, and then, you know, incorporate that into, you know, the different drafts of the script. So that's kind of, I guess it took maybe a couple months, I guess, from the inception to coming up with basically the final draft. So it wasn't a long time.
So Mark, you did the setup from the script itself. So you're the one that actually went out there and choreographed everything in that, or was that a collaboration?
The sword play was done by David, so I definitely will not take credit for that, but that was well done by David. And then in terms of this setting up the whole, it was really it's a collaboration. I was given the title director, but really I think we all pitched in. It was our first time, and we just helped each other, gave in suggestions. That's what I would have to say. It's not something I would just say I set up totally, had an image. We had to get to the set area, or the gardens, as we say, the one where the gardens were, and we had to just make do with what we saw at that time. David and I did go earlier, right, David? We did go one time earlier.
I don't think so. I don't think we did. I know that Mike and I went over there to rehearse our our sword fighting scene.
That's right.
So I got kind of a bit of a sense of how, you know, visually it should be shot within, you know, and we knew what area we're going to do it in, and so on. But I think a lot of it was just sort of like, once we got there, we kind of just sort of improvised and figured out where we should shoot things.
I think it's one of the best things about fan films, because we've done that before, is we all collaborate on the shots and take a look at things. I know we used to do that in Dreadnought. And that's the way I'm going to continue in Crossroads, is get everybody's feedback. You know, we're not under any union, so you're directing and you're doing the lights and this and that. You know, it's all a collaboration. And I think that's a true working relationship. I know you guys are probably like my crew. You know, we're a family. And I know you guys appear to be that type of a family where everything, you know, you probably get together on occasion and have a good time, but it's like when you're away from each other, you come back and everything's great. You're right back to where you were.
Yeah, we pick up from where we left off. Yeah. And, you know, I haven't seen my friends in a very long time. And so Sunday's going to be a very special day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think when was the last time I saw you, Mike? Was it when we last did the filming on Time and Time Again at the church, or
That
I
might
don't know.
be.
I don't
That might
know.
be.
It was it's
So
been a
the-
long time, but then I've been working with Mike on on these other films all in the meantime, and I see his clips, and we talk to each other a lot, and so in a sense I feel like we haven't really been absent from each other, maybe just just physically.
just not in person. Yeah, because I talked to David
Yeah,
probably at least
yeah.
once a week.
And I still, I've still kept in kept in touch with Mark quite a bit. And in fact, we were just at his house a few weeks ago, finally, after,
Yeah, everything.
everyone was vaccinated.
Vaccination, yeah.
And we all can now do, if you're vaccinated, we can do anything we want, which is great. And that I like that. Oh, I do have to say one thing, David. I really appreciated that answer that day. And I was telling Mike this earlier when I said, "Hey, where did you get the uniform?" Because I was interested in see where he got it. And you said Starfleet issue, and I went. I said, "Okay."
That's kind of my stock answer when people ask me where I got my uniforms. I usually say that first, and then I'll tell them where it really is from.
I said, "Dang!"
But it's just kind of like, oh, isn't it obvious? It's from it's Starfleet issued.
So David, you choreographed the sword fight, which again, it's one of those things where that's a very unique thing to have, especially in a Star Trek film. Star Wars, that's kind of commonplace because you have the lightsabers, but for a Star Trek film, that's kind of a head scratcher. Like, really? I mean, unless you're Sulu, because Sulu's kind of known for the swashbuckling. But when you see sword fight, you're just like, oh, that's weird. What made you think about doing that type of a thing in a Star Trek film? Because that's really unique. What gave you that idea?
It really kind of it went back to who Nagura was and trying to think about what's his background. And one of the things that I was thinking of is that maybe he's kind of like into, samurai things or samurai culture. And that, naturally as a result of that he would be into samurai sword fighting. But so that was one aspect. But the other aspect was, the idea of Kirk wanting to take command of the Enterprise. We normally kind of think of it as just a conversation between Kirk and Nagura in Nagura's office, and then, Kirk trying to persuade him and explain the reasons why he should give him the command of the Enterprise, and then Nagura maybe arguing with him or saying why he shouldn't be. And to me, that seemed like that would be kind of too dull a movie. I didn't want it to be a sort of like My Dinner with Andre, if you can remember that old film from long ago, where with just people sitting there around the table talking. So I didn't want it to be that kind of movie. So I thought, what could we do to make this more interesting? So I thought, well, instead of just having them talk with each other and argue with each other and that sort of thing, why don't we just introduce them and have kind of Nagura have Kirk and Nagura engage in sort of this friendly sword match, and while they're doing the sword match, they will sort of talk to each other, and Kirk will be talking about reasons why he should be given command of the Enterprise, and Nagura sort of countering with maybe reasons why he shouldn't. But in the doing this in the context and interplay of the sword fight, I thought would make it more interesting.
It absolutely did.
So that's the short answer.
Incidentally, I'd like to mention that the sword fighting actually helped our acting, or at least it helped my acting, because it gets you all amped up, and then you're ready to deliver your lines. So that was a big help.
And Mike was really a trooper on this because he had never done any sword play before in his life. I mean, I guess he probably played around with the lightsaber, which is sort of like sword play. But and actually, I haven't really done any sword play myself either. I just kind of translated. But I mean, I have a martial arts background and I do stuff with sticks, so I just sort of translated a lot of the stick movements to the sword, and because they're similar, and we just kind of worked out the the choreography that way. But Mike just we spent like just a few hours one morning working it out, and then we went over to the garden to try it out over there, and Mike picked it up really quick and made it look pretty decent, I think.
Well, yeah, like I said earlier, that's one of those things that it's a lot of people, they'll have stunt doubles, or they'll have other people, they'll step in and do it for them, and that's the one thing that I can appreciate about your film is it's very clearly you, or they'll hire like an alien in a makeup that is is someone who's trained to do that type of stuff, but the thing that I can appreciate about your film is it's you and it's him, and you see the faces, and it's like, how can you sit there and knock a film that clearly has two people that are doing it for the passion? It's you can tell the love that's there, and the fact that you guys went above and beyond the just acting. It's more than just close-ups of faraway shots. It's clearly not it's clearly someone that's like this big buff dude that's clearly Kirk, and then the close-up shot, it's Mike, and then that's so in a lot of these films, that's how it's done, that you're like, that's not fucking Mike, come on dude, that's not and then I hate shit like that, because it's like, that's not how stuff's done, and I love the fact that no, that's Mike doing his own work, that's David doing his own work, like that. To me, I love that, and the fact you guys did it outside, where all you guys are doing it together, where you guys are working against the environment, where it could have easily gone south. And it again, it wasn't in a closed environment where you guys are just yakking back and forth across the desk, which so many of these films have done, where they're saying, hey, look at my LCAR screen and look at this cool shuttlecraft in the background. No, none of that's in there. This is a very human story told in the Star Trek universe. And you guys have sword fights. Like, I mean, this is a film that Royce watched, and he was like, "Cool, swords." And I'm like, "Oh shoot!" As I'm scooting the butter knives far away from him, I'm like, I mean, this is a great film,
Well, we're glad that Royce enjoyed it.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we didn't have the budget to hire stunt people either, so that was, so we just had to do it ourselves.
Well, you guys,
it came out very well.
Yeah, it's one of the highlight. I would say at least for me, I think it's one of the underappreciated highlights, because it's I don't know how many people talk about it, but I love sitting there and say, hey, have you seen this film? No, I haven't. Here, watch this. Oh, dude, I love it. There you go, man. I mean, people they talk about the this film or this film, but I'm like, hey, what about this one? Oh no, let me see it. I'll watch it. To me, it's one of those like underground films that, if you haven't heard of it, I know you'll love it. And I love watching it, because it gives me an excuse to watch it with them. And especially for people who don't like the motion picture era films, or they see the uniforms, I'm like, no, watch this. This is great, because it's got something, a little bit of everything. It's got a great human story. It's got sword fights, and it has a reason to exist, where a lot of these films out there, they just want to talk, they just want to show, oh, look how great I am, I'm in a Star Trek uniform. That's not a great story. You have a reason to exist, and I love it,
Well, thank you. We really appreciate your kind words, and, spreading the word about it, too.
Oh, absolutely.
So what do you have upcoming?
Well, we are working on and trying to finish another film right now called Outraged. which kind of goes into the issue of cancel culture in a Starfleet context. And so we are approaching the final stages of that. We still have one more scene that has to be filmed, but most of the photography has been done, and we've been working these many months, Mike and I primarily, on doing the editing, and Mike's been doing a lot of the digital background work and cleaning the green screen, you know, spillovers and everything that he just loves to do. That's his favorite. That's his favorite job.
I think we all know green screens during the last year.
Yeah, you know, that's been kind of the way we've had to do it, just because of the, you know, the pandemic. As you well know, the fandemic, as our good friend Jonathan Lane terms it. Yeah. But this coming Sunday, Mike and Mark and I are all going to be we're the featured cast, or part of the featured cast of a new movie called Borg Hunters. And this is going to take us sort of out of the Kirk Nagura you know, realm of things. We're actually going to be playing about 20 years later or so after Voyager. I'm going to be Captain Kim. I was going to say Captain Ensign Kim. I can't, you know, that's because you know, we're just so used to saying Ensign Kim that even though he's going to be a captain here, I can't think of that word in front of his name. But it's going to be Captain Harry Kim.
We're going to change all that.
Captain Kim. Mike is going to depart from Kirk, and he's going to actually play Chakotay, Captain Chakotay.
Dude, I love that.
I could see that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Actually, I believe that was Mike's first Star Trek cosplay character, right? Isn't it?
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, he was Chakotay to begin with, and he has the, you know, the tattoo on his forehead. Yeah. And then Mark is going to play a character named Dr. Leland Tam, who is an expert in Borg physiology, and so he's on board to help in the aspects of dealing with you know, a Borg that we are going to encounter in the and what happens with that. So I don't want to give away too much of the storyline, but it is going to be quite a departure from the past few films we've been doing, and we'll actually get to do some, you know, live action. We'll be, you know, together because of now that we're vaccinated, and you're just gonna. I don't want to say too much, but you're just gonna love this set that we're going to be on. It's unlike anything you've seen before.
Now, is this your production or part of another production?
No, this is going to be our production. It's going to be a Star Trek Fan Productions international production. So it's going to be something very different from what we've been doing before. We'll have a lot of action in it as well, and so I hope it's something that once we put it together, you know, that you guys will really take a look at it and hopefully enjoy it and be nice to us about it too. This is another film where we have been given permission to spend a few hours on this set to do this film.
Oh, nice.
So we are
2 hours.
A few hours. And so we have to really use our time and budget our time, you know, efficiently to be able to get everything done. So it's going to be sort of like the Human Adventure, where we're trying to do at least, but with the Human Adventure we had all day.
Right.
We're going to have like basically half a day to try to put together a film. And we're gonna have to really work quickly and thoughtfully, right, guys?
Absolutely.
Two takes.
Hey, David, after this broadcast, I have an idea that might help extend our time.
No more green screen.
See you later.
Tired of green screen.
Well, that's the one thing I think about your about stepping up, with having kind of an established fan base.
We have a fan base.
You guys are stepping outside your comfort zone, and that's always kind of commendable. When you can do something that like you playing Captain Ensign Kim, and Mike is Chakotay, and Mark playing a character, and someone that's new. It's doing something that you guys haven't done before, where it's like, oh, cool, something new. Like you're adding to the mythos of the fan films. It's fan when they see something that they like, they latch onto it, and they're forgiving for the stuff that the flaws, because it's we make fan films and they're all flawed. They're far from perfect. Of course we have our haters. They're there, but the ones that we kind of cater to, our fans, they're so hungry for more, because a lot of them, they don't enjoy what's out there currently, or they're just not satisfied with some of the stuff there, or they're just like us, where they're wanting to fill in the gaps to it, so they live vicariously through us, or they're like, man, if we only had another Voyager story, or oh man, if we only could do this, or oh man, if we only had. So like we're filling that gap of what's there. I love the fact that you guys are doing, something a little different, because it's like, man, that's great. As a fan, it's like, man, I can't wait to see Captain Ensign Kim and Chakotay. Like I like Chakotay. Like he's my favorite first officer. So to see one of my friends playing Chakotay, it's like, man, that's awesome. Like I can't wait to see that. That's awesome.
Hopefully, we won't be still calling him Captain Ensign Kim.
That's right. My first line will be Ensign. I mean Captain.
Dude, I love that. That would be great.
I'm trying to think of what the line in MASH was when they brought Radar into the officers club and gave him a captain's. What was it? Captain Corporal.
Captain.
Yeah, Corporal Captain.
Find it out.
I'll tell you.
Well, guys, we've been on for an hour and a half now. I think we're gonna have to cut it short. So, with that in mind, I want to say thanks for letting us show your movie. I hope we weren't too critical of it. But I want to say honestly, thank you for letting us show it, and thank you guys for coming on the panel with us. And sharing a little bit of your guys' evening with us. It means the world to me to be able to do this with you guys.
Yeah, it means the world to me too. So,
well, thank you for showing it. I mean, it's an honor that you chose, our film to be able to showcase it and to, deem it worthy of being critiqued. Of all the hundreds or thousands of films out there. That you chose us as one of them was just really, really an honor to us. And, we're just glad that you had us on this panel to be able to answer questions and to kind of just share the filmmaking experience with you guys. And, it's a lot of fun. It's not all fun, but a lot of it is fun. And there are a lot of things we can look back on and laugh at, and things we can learn from. And definitely this being our first film, there's a lot of things I think we've learned from it, and hopefully have taken into our next films to improve. So,
blooper reels coming.
we do have the raw takes to come up with a nice blooper reel. If that's something that people demand, we may consider doing that.
I think it's always good to have a blooper reel every once in a while. It's just kind of fun. I know we put together a couple, but because people don't realize how hard it is. And, it doesn't take, it's not that one take that you have. It may take, 3 or 4 times sometimes. And they don't realize the sitting around in the set. And, if you're at the consoles, I really give a lot of credit to people who play helm officers and communications officers and navigators, because they sit there punching their buttons and that's basically what they do. And they sit there for hours. So
yeah, well, trying to make it look real.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like I enjoy having, it would be easy for me to sit there and nitpick films. I mean, realistically, like all of us could do that all day long, and we could always find the faults in films. And to me, that's always unfair, because I've had my films out there from people who've sat there and said, well, why is this light source off, and why is this done up here, why is this done here? And I hate that, because that's so unfair.
I asked him if I can see their film.
Well, and that's exactly it. To me, I enjoy having you guys on, and the filmmakers on, because it's like, first I like to watch the film and then say, well, this is the good things, these are the things, these are the, this is the good and the bad, this is the bad and the good, and this is what I would have maybe done differently, like this is how the film affected me. And then if the creators there, like, bring them on and let's talk about the film. Like, what were your thoughts in this? Because it's like you never really get to know the film unless you talk to the creator, and I always feel like it's kind of unjust to look at something unless you've had that opportunity. And I find it an honor to have you guys come on and talk about it, because it's so rewarding to sit there and say, what were you thinking when this happened? Or what were you thinking with this? To find out that you guys did this in 2 days. I'm now more blown away than I was before. It's again, I just have so much respect for you guys for this and everything you guys have done since. It's just, I'm blown away. It's great, and that's not just because you guys are sitting in front of me. It's really remarkable what you guys have done. And Steve Atwell says, before I forget, because I know I'm very forgetful, he says, I look forward to seeing whatever comes out next. Mm-hmm. You guys are great filmmakers in every capacity. And I honestly wish you guys the best of luck. And honestly, I want more of your films on here, because I want to continue showing these off. They're wonderful films. And I wish you guys best health and the best of luck. So keep them coming, guys. You guys are awesome people. So
well, thank you. And if you guys ever think about it, maybe we could do a crossover film with our company and your guys' new company.
Yeah.
You send me the script, I gladly will never tell you no. I will do everything, as long as Mike is not sitting there hitting my knuckles like he did yours, because I heard about that. So I just want to know how this guy keeps a job. That's
and as long as David tells me where he got his uniform.
I will gladly tell you where I got it. It's from Starfleet.
The tricks of the trade. The tricks of the trade. Yeah. That's it.
No, so I mean, there are no secrets about that. I mean, I'd gladly tell people, oh, this is where I got it, and here's the link.
It was because there's so many out there, and I like yours. So I was wondering exactly what manufacturer you went to.
Mm-hmm. See, me, I always go to eBay. So for me, I'm very, I always get like 3X. So I'm very cheap that way. So I just, that's for me, that's where I go to for my stuff. So that's where I'd go to. But
yeah.
Well, our uniforms on the Human Adventure were from eBay, so
yeah, just fine. Yeah, from that. Yeah, I find the quality on. It depends on who you go to. I was looking for some Monster Maroons, and I tried a couple different ones, and some of them are really cheap, and some of them are halfway decent. So that's why I try to find the ones where everybody else is getting them. Years ago, when I belonged to an organization called Maquis International, and I was having somebody overseas do some of our uniforms, and a lot of the uniforms that you see was the beginning of them doing it, because I had a lot of first runs that I asked them to design. You know, like the Nemesis jackets and stuff like that. I even have, if you see the Enterprise jacket online, I asked them to do that jacket, and I actually had to make me one to have the red and the silver on it, that away jacket. So they come and go though over there. Some of them are stay for a while, and then they change to another name or another company.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I wanted to interject. I appreciate our host for your comments. It really gives me a really good perspective. I'm my worst critic. So to hear you talk about the technical aspect, but more so the story itself, the human aspect, and how that was brought out in the story that David wrote, it really gives me a really good feeling just to know that you guys saw something that I didn't really see, and yet the movie was able to convey that to you folks. So that is really really uplifting for me, my spirit, just to hear you guys make those comments about, especially the humanness of the characters that David brought forth on the story.
Yeah, it was an origin story for you guys. There wasn't a lot of action, but there was a lot of character building. And I'll tell you what, I really like Phil, your sidekick. Admiral, I'm not sure. I like
Phil Curry.
Yeah, I like Phil.
Here's an interesting thing about that. He had never. I don't think he had ever acted anything before, but he was interested. I knew him from the Star Trek conventions, and he was a friend from there. But after he found out that we were doing this film, he wanted to take part. So I originally had not. In the idea of Phil Curry wasn't like part of the original idea, but after he wanted to take part, then I, came up with this character of him being sort of like a chief of staff for Nagura, and someone he could play off of, which I thought worked pretty well.
That's what I was saying. It's like your sidekick, it's your alter ego.
Yeah. but he's after he took part in this film, he really loved the idea of acting so much, and he's retired too, that he has his own film production company now, and he's actually participating in and funding numerous films. He's just he's gone way beyond where we've gone,
Wow.
And he's actually doing, independent films and shooting this and that, and he's just really gone. I mean, and the nice thing about it is he's still taking part in our films, even though he doesn't have to now. He's just way above us. But
isn't that funny?
Yeah, isn't that kind of funny that that one thing kind of led to this new career for him? That one thing kind of led to this new.
Yeah, I heard that feedback.
I heard it.
Turn down the radio. When you call in, don't listen to yourself on the radio.
Oh gosh, man, that's dating us. I don't think they do that anymore.
So with that in mind, I'm gonna have to cut this short, guys. So I got to go grab my numbers here soon. But we have next time we have you guys for a film that you guys are doing. Are you guys interested in coming back on panel to discuss that film?
Sure.
Oh, sure.
Perfect.
Sure. Especially Borg hunters.
Yeah, I'd like
that.
Yeah.
Be a lot of fun.
We'll be waiting. When do you think that will be released?
Oh.
Well, it depends on everyone's schedules. We kind of do this when we have time, so it just depends on when we can get everything done. It's hard to say. Hopefully before the end of the year.
Time? Don't you guys just do films? You mean to tell me you guys have actual jobs?
Real life? What? What is that?
My goodness. I know the feeling, trust me.
Well, we will have whenever Borg Hunters is done, that will be the next one we do. We'll get that one up right away because I am very excited. Like I said, Chakotay is my favorite first officer, and like the best thing about Chakotay was when he told it was like the second episode, and I forget who the two officers were, and it was when B'Elanna was locked in her quarters, and the two they were talking shit and trying to mutiny or whatever, and they were like, if you want to take over the ship, we'll help you. And he's like, what are you saying? And he was like, if you ever talk like that again, I'll personally throw you in the brig for mutiny. And I was like, yeah, you go get him, Chakotay. Yeah. And then ever since then, they wrote him like a punk. And I was like, dude, where's my boy at? Come on, Chakotay. So like, I always hated the fact that they never really gave the guy much character. And I was like, come on, man. They kind of did in Scorpion. And I was like, yeah. And then they dropped the ball again. And then they made him romantic interest of 7 and 9. And I was like, where did that come from? What? Give him the doctor. What are you doing? Come on, not Chakotay. Like, that makes no sense. So
now I understand why Mike wants to play Chakotay.
Yeah. I get it, Mike. I get it. So to see you pick up the torch of my favorite first officer, like that's awesome, dude. I really like that. And to see David give Captain Kim, some much due. It's either the fans are either going to love you or they're going to hate you because he's got that one extra shiny one pip. Every other one will be not. Or actually, I guess the other 3 would be extra shiny because they're brand new. That one is going to be, a little rusty, pip. So, it's yeah. To finally see it.
Fresh paint on him.
What's that now?
Oh, that's nothing.
Oh. But no, I'm glad to see these characters finally get some due, some just due. So no, we'll gladly have that one back. But anytime we do one of your guys' films, you guys are all invited to come back on panel and talk about your experience. It's great to have you guys come talk with us, and yeah, you guys are all welcome back. So
it's really great to get the behind the scenes story. That's the things that happen behind that you don't see in the actual film.
Yeah. So.
Well, thank you again.
Thanks, everybody.
You're very welcome. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and cut it out. So everybody at home, thank you for stopping by. Everybody on panel, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it very much. With that being said, be genuine, be safe, and keep on geeking on, guys.
All right, you too.
Take care.
Bye.